Hello, and thank you for watching this Ag Forecast, brought to you by Agrible, the makers of Morning Farm Report. My name is Eric Snodgrass, and I'm Senior Atmospheric Scientist and co-founder of Agrible. Well, let's start with this map. What we're looking at here is the last 14 days of accumulated precipitation through late in the evening on Wednesday, April 5th. I'm showing you the eastern two-thirds of the country here because we have had a very active storm track over the last 2 weeks. And the importance here is that later on Thursday, we're going to get a release of the latest U.S. drought monitor. And all of this precipitation that has fallen in parts of the central United States, which has been in drought for most of this winter, is going to see, I hope, a very significant change because some parts in through here received well over 6 inches of rain over the last 2 weeks. We've had rain from Texas stretching all the way into Nebraska, of course hitting Illinois, getting all the way to Michigan, and then the southeast was really hammered with some really nasty weather over the last few days. So this very active pattern is certainly going to work hard on erasing that drought in the middle part of the country. But of course, with all this rain, it's got a lot of people asking, when are we going to be able to get into the fields to get some field work done and get the planting done? So we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. I want to bring this up really quickly though. As those storms kind of translated farther to the east after hammering the central states earlier in the week, we did get another 298 reports of severe weather, and this will probably go higher as the night goes on tonight. But basically, we're seeing a lot of hail, a lot of strong winds, and an additional 10 reports of 10 reports of tornadoes. And check this out. Some of the hail was huge. This is baseball-sized hail here falling in parts of Alabama. In addition, parts of the Ohio River Valley also got slammed today as well. A few tornado reports up here, but a lot of wind and a lot of hail. So 2017 is certainly shaping up to be a very active severe weather year. And as I've been talking about, expect the severe weather threat to translate further to the west, setting up in the Great Plains more frequently as we get into April, May, and June, kind of the hotbed for severe weather across the central states. Now, I just want to show you something kind of fun here. This map shows us where each of the over 182,000 lightning strikes occurred on April 5th. So this was on Wednesday. They're color-coded according to age here, and I just think it's amazing that nearly every square inch of South Carolina and Georgia was hit by some form of thunderstorm. We also had some nasty storms that went through parts of Missouri, parts of Arkansas, southern Illinois, most of Indiana, and of course, like I said, Kentucky and parts of Ohio. So very active severe weather day on April 5th. That was Wednesday. Okay, let's talk a little bit about wheat. One of the things that we've seen behind this system is some cooler weather coming out of the Rocky Mountains and kind of sinking south across the northern part of the Corn Belt. And we did see right here in the wheat belt, temperatures on Wednesday morning drop down and hit freezing and even get below freezing. Now we're talking about a place here that's got quite a bit of wheat grown in it. So this is western Kansas, the panhandle of Oklahoma, and of course the northern part of Texas here. And right now we're about 30% jointed. So this could cause some problems with the wheat crop. We'll have to keep a very close eye on this. We got another chance for some cooler weather coming up in the short term as well. The reason why that is we're still right now dealing with the leftover effect of the deep trough that produced that severe weather outbreak that started in the central states, moved all the way to the east coast. You see, by noon on Friday, it's still hanging out here, which means we're going to deal with some of the cold weather in this part of the country on Friday morning as well. But the ridge moving back in will signal a warm up in the pattern overall for the center part of the country. But let's take a look at what we expect for early Friday morning. Got a low pressure center sitting here. This is the one that brought all that severe weather. Well, it's sitting here over the northern part of New York. Tight pressure gradient, very strong winds. If you live in this part of the country, very strong winds from the northwest. It's going to cool things way down over here. But as this high pressure center builds in the center part of the country, we're going to get that resurgence of some warmer air. But it will have to come after this map. What you see here is the early morning on Friday, April 7th temperatures. And this is forecast by the NAM 3-kilometer model. We can see a big chunk here of Illinois, parts of Iowa, parts of Wisconsin, actually getting back below freezing. Same thing for Michigan and parts here of Ohio as well. And if you notice this, temperatures all the way out here into the wheat belt, we're talking low 30s, which means lower spots in through here could once again dip down toward freezing. So we got to watch out what that's going to do to the wheat crop in here. Now, just got a healthy drink of water. It needs to continue to get that. We're going to take a look at that in a few minutes. But this is at least a sign of maybe some trouble for the wheat crop right here in the central part of the U.S. Now, what I want to animate for you, because we're talking about planting window now, is the 24-hour accumulated precipitation map starting on Friday morning, going out for about 10 days. Now, as I click play here, we see the one system leaving the East Coast. That's the one that brought us all that severe weather. What you're going to notice here is that most of the weekend, I'm all the way through middle of Sunday, we've got a pretty decent kind of dry out through a big section of the country. We are watching another system, though, starting to develop on Sunday into Monday. And here's what it looks like by the. In fact, we're watching this area for the potential for severe weather threat as well. I'll update you on that on our Sunday night video. But this is the next system that comes through, and as you can see here, it's going to be bringing rain again to those places that just got hammered with some precipitation. This is good. We're going to keep eroding on that drought, which is what I want to see here. This, of course, is valid late in the night on Monday night, early morning, Tuesday morning. As we continue to go through here, we see that system clear out, but yet another one breaks up, or I should say emerges here in parts of Texas and in Oklahoma, again hitting that wheat belt and eventually translating off to the east. So the point here is that we aren't getting any 5 to 8, maybe 10-day dry stretches of weather where folks are going to be able to get into the fields and do quite a bit of work. You can see that system moves on through and again brings rain to a big section of the middle part of the country. You know, there will be pockets where it is decently dry, but as I take us all the way out till like April 15th on that Saturday, you notice you didn't see a whole lot of kind of stagnant weather, some pretty active weather patterns moving through the central part of the country. This is what's got me concerned. By the time we get into mid-April, this map is valid for early in the morning on Tuesday, April 18th. The overall flow pattern of the atmosphere keeps suggesting the development of a ridge out east. Now, each new model run kind of moves the ridge around and changes its strength, but overall, this has been a pretty consistent theme. Now, why we have to care about this is that if a ridge is setting up over the eastern half of the country, this will signal warmth. But if a trough is digging right into here, which is basically kind of south of the Four Corners, as the flow of the atmosphere kind of ejects over the mountains into the Great Plains, it is going to keep igniting severe weather in the central part of the country. I will be watching for this pattern to evolve very closely over the coming days, because if it does set up like this, we are not going to see a slowdown in terms of severe weather in the central United States. And of course, that always translates off to the east. Now, let's look really long term. This is the forecast by the ECMWF, the European model. We're looking at precipitation anomalies from now all the way through the first week of May. Because that flow pattern sets up such that you get that trough out in the southwestern part of the United States, look at this. We are keeping a big section of the middle part of the country wet. So think wheat, think where we have drought, and what that's going to do to our pre-season drought situation. We're also tending to see some ridging events setting up in the southeast, which helps feed that moisture in to this part of the country. And if we get a lot of precipitation here early, that is moisture that gets recycled later on in the season to help the corn crop grow and the soybean crop grow across the middle part of the country here. To wrap this up, I got to show you what's going on in South America. We just recently received some new updates that suggest that the Brazilian crop this year could top 110, maybe 111 million metric tons. Basically, a lack of heat stress and very regular rain has made for outstanding growing conditions here across Brazil. Now, there's a few things to be concerned about as we're working on the safrinha crop. First, we're about 80% harvested, so we still have to make sure that the timing of the rains is good with harvest. We're seeing it getting pretty wet down here in southern Brazil and parts of Argentina, but Argentina's had some back and forth weather all season long, which has really kind of kept their crops suppressed. But Brazil is certainly going to carry South America in terms of yields. So we'll be watching out for precipitation events. They will be getting closer and closer to being susceptible to a frost, so we'll keep you updated on that with our weekly weather updates. With that, I'll go ahead and wrap things up. Thank you so much for your attention. Hope you look forward to our next Ag Forecast. Thank you.